morning, and welcome to Zoom Worship and Youth Sunday with the Winchester Unitarian Society. My name is Colette Drain, and I'm a member of our youth group, which we affectionately call WCG. Our progressive faith community calls us to be radically inclusive, which means that we're very excited that all of you found the link in major way here this morning. We welcome people of all racial and ethnic backgrounds from all countries of origin and residence, regardless of documentation. We welcome all sexual orientations, gender identities, and/or lack thereof. You're also welcome here today, regardless of your income, your physical and mental abilities, your age, or whom you plan to vote for in November, as long as you vote. Finally, you are welcome regardless of your spiritual beliefs. We are excited to journey together for at least this morning, no matter where any individual's larger path towards spirituality may or may not ultimately lead. Our progressive faith is also an evolving faith. As people's beliefs change over time, so does our understanding of the various ways that meaningful connection can take place. During this pandemic, we're doing our best to adapt and maintain our close social and spiritual proximity to each other through technology. We love that this means many of you are joining us from very far away. Welcome. And we extend a special welcome to family members attending to witness today's rite of passage with our graduating seniors, including my mom, who this is her first spiritual practice in who knows how long. To help orient you to today's online service, here are some things to know. Many of you should have already received a digital order of service. If not, you will find a link to the order of service in the front page of our website, winchesteruu.org. If you're a visitor today, please consider filling out our virtual visitor card during the offertory. The link can be found in the order of service and will be posted in the chat box. We look forward to getting to know you. By the end of the service, you're invited to stay for our virtual coffee hour. Bring your own coffee, of course. Use the chat function for everyone to greet each other for a few minutes. After that, you will be invited to join one of several breakout rooms to continue with the video conversations in small groups. These groups are formed randomly, though we will be intentionally placing one of our seniors from today's service in each room. In case you have any technical problems during the service, Stephen Parapluck is on standby for tech support. His phone number is listed in the order of service, along with contact information for today's pastoral care associate, Vicky Coccoluto. And before I continue, I'd just like to extend a special thank you to Max McKay for putting all of these videos together. Without him, a lot of this would not be possible. I have a few brief announcements to highlight for you this morning. The Power of Myth meets again today at noon. Contact Matthew Bronski for the login. His email is in the order of service. A new writers group meets Thursday mornings at 9:30 to 11. Join it this week before the group closes. Contact Rebecca Kelly Morgan for information. The Winchester Unitarian Society annual meeting will be Sunday, May 31st via Zoom. This will be an abbreviation of the traditional meeting to handle the most important articles. More information will be shared soon. Potluck Theology returns May 31st at 4:30 p.m. with a virtual picnic. We'll be creating cards for, it's a surprise. Login information will be sent in advance. Contact Rebecca Kelly Morgan. If you like today's service, be sure to join us on June 7th when WCG will be hosting a special event following that morning's worship, featuring youth musical performances and more. June 14th, we celebrate Flower Communion. We need you to make this possible. Take a photo of yourself or your family with the flower and send it to Reverend Heather by June 7th. Next, we will enter a time of community greeting. Since all are muted to provide the best sound quality during the service, we will greet each other by typing in the chat function. When we greet each other, please also share with us any particularly good news that you have. The greeting time will last about 1 minute. We usually signal the end of the greeting in church by having someone ring a small bell from our partner church. So here on Zoom, you'll know to stop chatting and bring your heart and mind back to worship when you see and hear a clip of the big bells ringing at our partner church in Transylvania on Easter morning. We will now go into the community greeting and good news roundup.
Yes, there is fear. Yes, there is isolation. Yes, there is panic buying, sickness, yes, even death. But they say that in Wuhan, after so many years of noise, you can hear the birds again. They say that after just a few weeks of quiet, the sky is no longer thick with fumes, but blue and gray and clear. They say that in the streets of Assisi, people are singing to each other across the empty squares, so that those who are alone may hear the sounds of family among them. Today, churches, synagogues, mosques, and temples are preparing to welcome and shelter the homeless, the sick, the weary. All over the world, people are slowing down and reflecting. All over the world, people are looking at their neighbors in a new way. All over the world, people are waking up to a new reality, to how big we really are, to how little control we really have, to what really matters, to love. So today, we remember that yes, there is fear, but there does not have to be hate. Yes, there is isolation, but there does not have to be loneliness. Yes, there is panic buying, but there does not have to be meanness. Yes, there is sickness, but that does not have to be the disease of the soul. Yes, there is death, but together today, our seniors show us how this community exemplifies a rebirth of love. Wake to the choices you make as to how to live now. Today, breathe. Listen to the factory noises of your panic. The birds are singing again. The sky is clearing. Spring has come. And we are always encompassed by love. Open the windows of your soul, and though you may not be able to touch across the empty square, sing.
Good morning, everyone. I would like to invite you all to join us in lighting your chalice today. If you're familiar with it, we are using words and hand signs, so please follow along, and if you're unfamiliar, just do the best you can. We light this chalice to celebrate Unitarian Universalism. This is the church of the open mind. This is the church of helping hands. This is the church of loving heart. For all these things, and for each and every one of us.
Our chalice is lit. Let us now join in singing our opening hymn, Come, Come, Whoever You Are. The words are printed in your order of service and will be on your screen.
Though you've broken your vows 1,000 times,
come, come, whoever you are, wanderers, another of thee, ours is no carol and all despair. Come, yet can come, come, whoever you are, wanderers, another of thee, ours is no carol and all despair.
come yet again, come.
Now, can we please have those of you who are young in body or spirit move a little closer to your screens for a story? Thank you. Liza and Jeremy, the twins, were asleep one calm and quiet night. Suddenly, it began to rain very hard. Thunder rumbled until it got so loud that it woke them up.
Mommy, mommy!
Mommy, mommy!
They cried out as they ran to turn on their phones and call her on Zoom. You see, one of their mommies was self-isolating in a different home than them.
Hey, what's wrong?
Mom, it's so loud. We can't sleep.
Don't worry, you two. It's just the storm making all that noise. Go back to bed.
We want to stay close to you. We're scared.
You know we're always together no matter what.
But how can we be together when you're over there and we're in bed over here?
Mom held something right in front of them and said,
This is how.
Rubbing their sleepy eyes, the twins came closer to their screens to see what Mom was holding.
I was about your age when my mommy first told me about the invisible string.
I don't see a string.
You don't need to see the invisible string. People who love each other are always connected by a very special string made out of love.
But if you can't see it, then how do you know it's there?
Even though you can't see it with your eyes, you can feel it with your heart and know that you are always connected to everyone you love. When you're at school and you miss me, your love travels all the way along the string until I feel it tug on my heart.
And when you tug it right back, we feel it in our hearts.
Does Jasper the cat have an invisible string?
Sure she does.
And best friends like me and Lucy?
Best friends too.
How far can the string reach?
Anywhere and everywhere.
Would it reach me even if I were a submarine captain deep in the ocean?
Yes, even there.
Or a mountain climber?
Even there.
A singer on a balcony in Italy?
Even there.
A jungle explorer in the Amazon?
Even there.
How about an astronaut in space?
Yes, even there.
Can my string reach all the way to Miss McElhenney, even though she's not our teacher anymore? She was my favorite.
Yep, it can reach her too.
But what about when we grow up and go off to college?
It'll still reach you then too.
Does the string go away when you're mad at us?
Never. Love is stronger than anger. And as long as love is in your heart, the string will always be there. Even when you get older and we can't agree about what movies to see or what game to play or what time to go to bed. Oh, that's right. You two should be in bed.
And with that, they all laughed.
All right, you two. Go back to bed. Get snuggled up under the covers before you turn your phones off.
Good night.
Good night.
Within a few minutes, they were asleep, even though the storm was making the same loud noises outside. And as they slept, they dreamed of all the invisible strings they have, and all the strings their friends have, and their friends have, and their friends have, until everyone in the world was connected by invisible strings. And from deep inside, they now could clearly see no one is ever alone. We offer a blessing to each other every week as one way of showing our own invisible strings to one another in this loving community too. So let's all sing it together now.
May lightning shine before you every day. May lightning shine before you every way, hide your way. May the love we share surround you and chase your fears away. May the lightning shine before you. This we pray, this we pray.
As many of you may already know, Haley Wegner, the Assistant Director of Youth Ministries, has decided that this will be her final year serving us in that role. Although the youth and I will have a goodbye party later in the summer for you, we would like to take this time as a congregation to share our goodbyes as well. Haley, I vividly recall you coming into your interview like a burst of sunshine, and soon after, you both amused and surprised me. We asked you if you were comfortable using social media, and you quickly retorted, "I'm 22, what do you think?" Since then, you've always continued to make me laugh and also exceeded any and all expectations I ever could have had for your capabilities. Each year, I solicit anonymous feedback from the youth for your evaluation, and each year, I get a bunch of notes saying, "There's nothing that I would change." And I couldn't agree more. I am, of course, devastated by your departure, but also so incredibly proud of you and who you've become as an educator, advocate, activist, faith innovator, and one of my very best friends and favorite people. I'm filled with gratitude for getting to have you by my side for the past 5 years,
and I'm so excited to see how you continue to spread your light to the rest of the world.
Haley, our congregation has been blessed by 5 years of your ministry. I know the legacy of your leadership will endure. Your presence and service have been precious gifts. You have a way of being more centered and grounded than most adults I know, while also being accessible to younger generations. You embody the paradox of being highly organized and responsible, while also being fun and spontaneous. And through it all, you are extraordinarily kind. I join Sam and the rest of WCG in celebrating the countless ways you have fostered a loving and accepting community, finding within yourself irreverence and reverence, silliness and compassion, depending on what is needed in the moment. So we release you as a member of the staff, but embrace you as a member of the congregation and the community within which you too grew into adulthood. Know that you always have our love, and for this ministry with our youth, our deep, deep gratitude.
Haley, you've been through so much with us. From barbecues, retreats, sleepovers, service trips, fundraisers, silly games, serious conversations, worship services, and so much more.
Thank you for bringing so much of yourself to everything that you do, especially how much you were open with us during service trips and how much you shared with us about your intense love of cats.
Thank you for connecting with us in so many ways and for always keeping it real.
Thank you for supporting our silliness too, and joining in with me when I would use accents like this one.
You have been grounded and organized, yet also so easygoing and silly too. We will always cherish our fond memories with you and appreciate you for the important role you have had in our lives. We love you.
Thank you, Sam, Heather, members of WCG, present and past, the members and friends of the Winchester Unitarian Society, and the program staff. Wow, what a journey it has been. I have been incredibly fortunate to have found a home here over the past 19 years, and for the last 5 of those as the Assistant Director of Youth Ministries. Thank you for providing me with the tools to grow and learn, discover myself, and to teach and mentor our young people as they embark on their own journeys through life. I have always felt a deep sense of belonging here with this community, and it is an honor to have been able to serve the youth group and hopefully provide some young people with the same sense of belonging that this community has given to me. I will carry on using the tools and gifts that I have been given here to expand my reach in other communities and hopefully continue to find ways to spread brightness in the world. I will cherish the memories and connections I have made in this role, while knowing that I will continue my connection with this community as a member for long to come. Thank you.
As you attended Marianne de Blasy's farewell ceremony, you know that we have a practice of giving handmade candles to those who are leaving an important role at the Winchester Unitarian Society. These are not just ordinary candles. They are made with the wax of the candles that we usually burn on Sunday morning. So if someone were to light this candle, they could be intimately connected with the joys and sorrows of this community. As a handmade candle, it's a little uneven, it's a little rough in places, but it is obviously made with love. The coasters for these candles are painted by the congregation's children, but that's not all. One thing that you and I and many of our children have in common is a love of cats. So when I saw this coaster, I knew that it had to be the one to hold the candle that we are giving to you. Another gift will follow when we can get together in person, but for now, just know that we give you our love in the symbol of this small token, and hope that you will kindle this chalice whenever you miss us if you are far away.
Thank you so much.
And thank you, Haley, from the bottom of all of our hearts. We now enter into a time of centering in our service, first with a ritual, kindling of the light, the time when you too are invited to light a candle, representing the joys, sorrows, or concerns you hold within. Kindling of the light will be followed by a time of shared silence, out of which we will sing Meditation on Breathing. The words are printed in your order of service and will also be on your screen. Let us begin by kindling the light.
is called Spilling the Light. I'm sharing these words as encouragement to my older sister and the rest of the seniors in Wussy G, who will always be part of this community, even as they spill their own lights elsewhere next year. Some people are used to keeping rules. Don't cross the street when the light is red. That's sensible. It turns out that keeping rules isn't the same as keeping covenant, which asks us, instead of keeping a bright line, to keep our promises to what we have promised ourselves, to this moment in time and place, to this community, and even tenderly interconnected this planet. We promise ourselves to the idea that we are each and all human beings. We promise that there is something moving between us that we cannot tame and cannot measure. The chalice is a reminder that what flame we keep inside us cannot light the way. The light must spill to shine. The thing you must be is yourself, unadulterated, shedding the willingness to journey along, as though you are made of something hard and unforgivable. You are human. You belong right here, right now. And together, we will chase away the sickness, the secrets, and leave only the open possibility that the future is a space for growth.
Wussy G was my rock when evacuating a country entering civil unrest, and now it is my rock during a pandemic in the midst of a life transition. My sophomore year, I traveled to Nicaragua for a service trip with Wussy G. We worked to build an elementary school in a rural community, and it was the most physically exhausting labor I've ever done. But I had never felt more rewarded from enhancing my Spanish conversational skills and bonding with the members of Wussy G. Days later, violent protests challenging the government erupted across the country, and we were abruptly evacuated to Miami. The hardest part for me was not having closure. I did not get to say goodbye to the workers with whom we connected. One of our hosts, Celia, had to leave to be with her family. We felt guilty, confused, and disheartened because we couldn't thank them. As much as I longed to have a different ending after that eye-opening week, what I took away was much more impactful. I found my passion for Spanish and service learning, and I began to embody the trademark phrase, live to give. Despite the rough transition back to Winchester, I continued to reflect on what the trip meant to me because we had experienced a piece of Nicaragua's history in live time. I'm currently feeling the same theme of a lack of closure with my unique senior year. Although all this absence and uncertainty and change, I am learning how to reflect and find gratitude from my memories with Wussy G. I find no greater joy than when I'm reading through old notes from service trips and fall retreats. It's the best way to feel connected again with the outstanding people in this group. I'm so thankful for Wussy G teaching me that the more outside of your comfort zone you are, the more you grow from it. This founding principle is the core motivation behind me choosing the more unknown path of a gap year. No matter how daunting this year will be, Wussy G's strategy of growing from emotional experiences will always be with me. Right now, we are living in a revolutionary time, as much as we saw Nicaragua endure just 2 years ago. In a time of a life transition and a pandemic, Wussy G is my only security. In a time without closure, Wussy G provides solace. This community showed me how to absorb meaning from unprecedented times. I choose to learn from this, and I choose to inspire those around me to live to give.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Tian, class of 2020, and this is my first and last year in WCG. I will be attending Pratt Institute in Brooklyn this autumn, hopefully. The school year has been really a roller coaster. New opportunities, unexpected changes, different expectations, and to top it all off, a global health pandemic? A friend of mine introduced me and another friend to this group last year. At first, I mostly just went to see my friends who were or are in the group, but I soon just found it to be nice just to leave in the house on Sunday, to sit in a room, eat snacks that I don't have at home, play silly games, and talk with my peers and see life through their perspectives. Although that other friend stopped attending meetings after the fall retreat, which was a lot of fun by the way, I decided to stick around and stay involved. This group kind of grew on me eventually, and I'm really glad to have hung around with them this year. I found myself taking opportunities when I knew I could take them instead of being lazy and not doing them. I volunteered to help at the spaghetti dinner and at the youth fundraisers. I even attended my first church service here. Even outside of church, I tried to seek more opportunities to get out of my comfort zone. I volunteered to help design and paint the sets for the school play, and I've even decided to start writing my own webcomic. I just had the time and decided to do them to see how they would go. After all, the worst thing I can do is not try to get involved somehow. And everything went fine. Well, except for the play. It's cancelled. During one of the Zoom CG meetings, I've been told that I've been one of the most engaged first-year seniors in a while, and I don't know why, but I felt really touched after I heard that. I was just doing my best to vibe and have a good time, and I had no idea how much it meant to them. I guess that as a person who sort of sees themselves as a nobody, I've always assumed that the things I do usually go unnoticed. It just never occurred to me that what I do can be significant, and I'm glad that people did appreciate me being here and being involved. I guess my main takeaway for this year is it doesn't hurt to try to get involved or engaged or provide some input in something. Take any opportunity you can and want to take. After all, living is all about doing stuff for yourself and others. That might just be me though. Even though I didn't exactly get the truly authentic WCG experience this year, I'm still glad that I stayed involved as much as I could. I learned so much about everyone and myself, and I still had so many experiences I could never have imagined I would have. Thank you, everyone at WCG, for such a great year. I will try to come back if I get the chance.
I see nothing at all, and I hear your sweet phone narrator. There I will go.
WCG, the Winchester Unitarian Society Youth Group. Where should I begin? Well, I might not be here at all if it weren't for the church itself. I grew up here, and a decade ago, I knew about WCG and assumed I would end up in it someday. But all WCG meant to me back then was the place where the high schoolers go, and the people whose room my friends and I liked to commandeer during coffee hour to throw all the couch cushions on the floor in a big pile and dive into them, until our parents and or Rebecca found out and made us clean it up and leave. Quick PSA, kids don't get any ideas. As I progressed through the years of religious education, I matured from that, and eventually I ended up in WCG, where we now do basically the same thing, throwing cushions on the floor and jumping into them in what we call a bonding game. When I came to WCG for the first time as a freshman, I was apprehensive. Quiet, shy little me saw the self-assuredness and social positivity of the older members and was filled with a mixture of excitement and fear. During less structured times, they laughed and had fun while I quietly watched. Being an introvert, I had never cared about this before, but now I would come home from youth group meetings feeling I had missed out on something. At our weekly meetings, we have often played silly bonding games, running around making fools of ourselves. Other times we sit in a circle, having deep discussions, or, if it's late at night, revealing our deepest and strangest secrets. Sharing our many sides helps us become more comfortable with ourselves. Over time, Wussy G drew me out of my shell. My check-ins evolved from short summaries of my week into funny quips and long philosophical rants. I became more open to people, forging new and deeper social connections. I am a different person than I was 4 years ago, thanks in no small part to Wussy G. Wussy G is a place where I can laugh, where I can be who I am without fear of judgment. It's helped me realize that being weird is not only okay, it's genuinely a good thing sometimes. And there is no need to fear the judgments of others, because inside, everyone is weird too. At the start of my Wussy G career, I was the one receiving the light from others who encouraged me to open up. Now, I try to be a giver of that light, so that others who are like I was may feel its warmth. Thank you, Wussy G. Thank you, Wuss. And thank you to everyone who has helped me on my journey.
When I was a kid in church, I believed that I was a cat. My friends believed the same as me, and to prove to the rest of the congregation that I was a cat, I would crawl along the tops of the couches and meow. The sugar cubes that always hung out by the coffee were an irresistible temptation for my childhood sweet tooth, and I could never stop myself from crunching on one of those sweet squares. I also had a bit of a soft spot for the rodents living within the walls of the church, and every coffee hour I'd take a bit of cheese and leave it underneath the couch. Every time there was a potluck, you could always find me in the kitchen, wiping down all of the newly clean plates to be put away. For my efforts, I eventually received a certificate in the mail from Rebecca, telling me that I had finally achieved the title of professional dishwasher. In children's chorale, we'd always compete to see who could go the most duck-footed. It didn't do our singing posture any service, but we enjoyed ourselves. The Wussy G room was a land of great mysteries for me and my church friends. On one hand, it held all the best hide-and-seek spots, it held all the squishiest couch cushions, and was by far the most homey room in the whole church. But on the other hand, if we were ever caught in that room by Rebecca, she would become furious. What on earth made that room so special, yet so forbidden? Eventually, I realized that there were plenty of alternative hiding places in the church, and that the Mickelson room had almost the same number of couch cushions. I didn't set foot in that room again until the beginning of freshman year. In 7th grade, I graduated from traditional RE. OWL happened, but we don't talk about that. In 8th grade, I moved up to Faith in Action, which is basically a precursor to Wussy G. That year, Kai Flannery was the leader of our group. She worked so hard to teach us the meaning of standing up for things you believe in. Although I'm known for having a terrible memory, I do remember making a podcast about net neutrality, and I remember attending the Louis D. Brown Institute Mother's Day March for Peace. I always knew that I was destined to join Wussy G. I had gone through every grade level of RE at the church, and in my mind, Wussy G was just another RE class to get out of the way. But when I finally put my feet back into that room I had been avoiding for all those years, those preconceptions were all wiped from my mind. On the couches, I saw dozens of teenagers, all laughing with each other and talking. On the coffee table in the middle, I saw a multitude of snacks that my mother would have never let inside our house. And on the walls, I saw the reason why Rebecca wouldn't let us into the room. As a 9th grader, all the old juniors, seniors, and even the sophomores felt like huge, scary, confident people who I would absolutely never become. I bet they all stayed up past 11:30 on school nights. I judged everyone mainly based on what I assumed their sleeping habits to be. My mom drove me there every week, and I sat through every meeting on what I called the freshman couch, this old, dilapidated leather couch, mainly held together by duct tape. I would never move from that couch, so for the first month of Wussy G, my Wussy G friend group remained the same. The 9th grade retreat will always hold a special place in my heart. See, 3 days before the retreat had happened, there was this thing called Day of Dialogue that happened at my school, where all the LGBT students would take over the freshman history classes for a period and teach them about all things LGBT. I was in that history class that I decided I was bisexual, and 3 days later, I decided to tell a small group of Wussy Gers this. And they were so sweet and affirming of little 9th grade me that I resolved to stay in Wussy G through the rest of high school. As I went through my different phases in high school, Wussy G has always been my rock. They were there for me in my South Park phase, they were there for me in my Dan and Phil phase, they were there for me in my classical music phase. Everything and everyone around me has changed, but Wussy G and Sam and Haley have been there through it all with me. Literally everything has changed since I first set foot in this church when I was 4. Ministers have moved on and been replaced. I've made and lost so many friendships, but I think in times of change it's important to focus on the things that still remain, your rocks, and on the good things change has brought. Even with COVID, I can still go to church, I can still go to Wussy G, which meets twice a week now, and my family and friends who wouldn't have otherwise been able to come to this service today are now here in this service watching me read my senior statement alongside you. With the changes life has brought, I've been able to savor the good things that last and celebrate the new things that have taken the place of the old. I still see Wuss's children meowing on the couches and stealing excess amounts of sweets, being slightly chaotic in children's corral, drying dishes, and learning all the strange secret passageways in the church. Some things have changed about the traditions of the church's kids. Kirsten is the new leader of children's chorale since John has moved up to teach music to the older kids, and the undersides of the couches are sadly cheeseless, as far as I know. But if we focus on the good, if we focus on the good things that have stayed the same, I think we can all embrace change and come out the other side being better than we were before.
This month was supposed to be the best part of my public school experience, but instead I've been wearing my cap and gown around my house to get my money's worth and staring at my prom dress online. It's been frustrating to watch everything be slowly canceled. Let's celebrate! But the most annoying part for me is the lack of closure. That's why we hold graduations and proms and services like this. It's because we're all really bad at transitions in life. And this is the biggest transition I've had to deal with yet. It's weird to think back on all of the things that just ended out of nowhere. For example, going to church. I've been going to this church since before I was even born. I went to every single service, RE class, Christmas pageant, Easter egg hunt, children's choir practice. I have so many memories at this church, like the time my sister cut my hair out back on the swing set before service because I got gum stuck in it somehow. I've also made many transitions in this church, like when I moved up to Owl. Yay! And then I moved on to Wussy G. My sophomore and junior years were my only 2 official service trips, one to Nicaragua and one to Ferry Beach. It's really important to me that I got the opportunity to go to Nicaragua and to see a part of the world that is so different from Winchester. One memory that I know will stick with me for a long time is when we first drove through Managua. There were these metal sculptures in the center of the road, and they were all lit up, and we all were talking about how pretty they were. But then, on the day we had to evacuate, we drove back the other way, staring at these same sculptures, but they had been knocked down and burned. Despite this surreal situation, The people around me stayed calm and did what was needed of them, and they also stayed positive. Maybe I didn't know it at the time, but looking back, the people in WCG became role models to me. They were so kind on Sundays after I'd had a rough week, or month, or year. They were also there to push me out of my shell and give me the confidence I needed throughout high school. I've changed a lot since my freshman year, thankfully, and I think I owe a lot of it to WCG. And even though the world kind of feels like those burned down sculptures right now, the lessons I've learned, the experiences I've had, and the role models that I've met make me confident.
Today we share our gifts with Fairy Beach, a sacred space for a couple of our seniors, and the beloved site of WCG's last service trip as a group, where many of us learned about climate justice together while transplanting dune grass, building permaculture gardens, and otherwise having fun being together all week. Founded over 100 years ago, Fairy Beach is a UU mainstay in the Northeast that, according to our in-house WIS historian John Russell, used to be a very popular destination for many of our families, and still is for at least a couple of them. Fairy Beach is also in danger of shutting down. There are off-season workshops, conferences, and retreats in the late winter and early spring help them to pay their bills and keep operating throughout the summer. But of course, the physical facility has been shut down due to COVID-19. Please consider giving generously to help keep this magical UU space around. You may donate through the mobile app Give Plus, or through PayPal, or by mailing a check to us at 478 Main Street, Winchester, Massachusetts, 01890. Please write or type May 17th offering in the memo line of the check or the comment field in the apps. More info can be found in the giving section of our website at winchesteruu.org. Our practice is to invite first-time worship attendees to be our guests. In lieu of a contribution, please complete the virtual visitor card so we can stay connected beyond this Sunday.
beyond the crowd, above the world, we're not too proud to cling together. We're strong as long as we're together. Alone together. The blinding rain, the starless night, were not in vain.
Thank you all so much for your generous contributions, and thank you, Alex, for that poignant and beautiful rendition. Those who wish to do so are invited to join in reading the community affirmation together, which can be found in your digital orders of service. We gather not for ourselves alone, but to use our common power to build the beloved community within and beyond these walls. We create and reaffirm this covenant this day to make justice flourish, to practice compassion amidst difference, and to embody transformative love.
The Unitarian Universalist Bridging Ceremony is a rite of passage that is a time-honored tradition and Unitarian Universalist ritual. It is a tradition where we celebrate what our high school seniors have brought to our community and send them forth into the world with the strength and values that WCG and this congregation and community have given them. Today, we honor 5 wonderful WCG youth who are making this transition.
This group has been through so much together. They've learned and taught each other about important issues. They've shared some of their deepest secrets and most overwhelming concerns. They've listened deeply, hugged each other, cried, laughed, jumped into the freezing cold ocean in April. No, wait, that was just Evan. They've been to welcoming barbecues, holiday parties with alums, sleepovers, and who could forget all the fall retreats, making s'mores over the campfire, giving each other massages while gazing at the stars, and of course, all the ridiculous skits. I will never ever forget Rachel showing us a whole new side of her during her debut fall retreat performance. They played more games of Wink, musical chairs, and sardines than they can count. Bitsy is, by the way, the best musical chair that I've ever met. They went to Nicaragua, where Charlotte gave us all a master class in hard work by digging the biggest hole you've ever seen. Then together we managed to escape a country on the brink of civil war, just in time. And last year, Evan and Rachel introduced all of us to Fairy Beach, their summer home away from home. And together we transplanted dune grass, built keyhole gardens, and actively learned about the environment and ways each of us can help do our part.
Together, we also led several inspiring worship services. Rachel, Evan, Charlotte, and Bitsy, all of you have at one time or another led the first reflection, wearing silly costumes and acting things out to share a message with our younger and older people. Rachel, you've graced all of us with your voice as the youngest member of the choir. And Elizabeth, you joined right in and sang with the pickup choir the very first time you came to a worship service here too. Bitsy, your beautiful trumpet playing has ended many worship services on just the right note. I'm also proud to share that 3 of you signed the book and have become members of this congregation. Each of you has shown a commitment to social justice, service work, and genuine devotion to making a positive dent in this world, which is a testament to this community, your families, and you for being the brave, compassionate, and thoughtful young people that you are. I am so proud of you all. We love each of you so much, and we will miss you so much.
And now, you all take wing. 4 of you have grown up in this congregation. We have had the pleasure and the privilege of watching you grow and change and learn. Sit through awkward Our Whole Lives classes, run the big dishwasher, deploy the sharp knives on soup Sundays, take part in the annual pageant, and eventually find your place as young leaders. You are not who you were when I first met you, and today you are even more who you are. And whether you came willingly to church or not, something took hold in all those years, and some things unfolded in each of you. In high school, you also found your way into niches outside of youth group. Charlotte leading religious ed classes, thoughtfully and enthusiastically assessing, suggesting, adapting. Bitsy, also known as Elizabeth, bringing your quiet humor and your love of teaching into those same classes. Evan, making order of the supplies and props that tend toward entropy, while learning how to speak up and speak out. And Rachel, finding your voices, musical, silly, and profound. I hope that you each have an appreciation of how unique your gifts are. Never lose that. This congregation is richer for your time within it. And now you take wing. Fly high, breathe deep, remember where you've been, and remember who you are.
Part of this bridging tradition recognizes that you are not simply leaving WUS, but rather you are bridging into a new period in your life, young adulthood. Welcome. We want you to know that there's still a home for you here at this congregation, always, and also a home for you as young adults you use, or at least with you leanings, in the larger world. Can everyone in the Zoom who is aged 18 to 35 please show us your best spirit fingers in solidarity and welcome to the newest members of your cohort. Now, to honor this important moment, can everyone please turn to their orders of service to read our bridging affirmations to one another as the seniors, congregation, and young adults. Each group has a designated person who will be reading these affirmations aloud, but please read along from your homes alongside them.
Many of us grew up in this congregation. All of us found a home here that welcomed us and loved us as we were. Thank you for nurturing us and for helping us to form and strengthen our identities. Thank you for creating the sacred space that gave us so many friendships, deep connections, and meaningful moments in our lives. Even as our bodies eventually venture beyond this community, a part of our hearts will always remain here.
We cherish the gifts you have shared during your time here. We honor your dreams and your visions for who you will become. We encourage you to hold your roots close to your heart as we set you free to spread your wings.
We welcome you with open arms into this next stage of your lives. We know it is simultaneously exciting and terrifying, but we are here to sway in the winds of change with you. We are with you as you embark on this next stage in your transformation. Welcome to Young Adulthood.
This is the time during the traditional bridging ritual when we ask the congregation to form an arch with their bodies and our seniors walk through our human bridge. Instead, today, we ask that everyone watching from home please light a candle and hold it up to your screen while we witness our youth crossing a different bridge. We'll give you a moment to do so now. May each of our lights collectively help guide our youth into young adulthood.
My life flows on in endless song above earth's lamentation. I hear the real, though far off hymn that hails a new creation. Through all the tumult and the strife, I hear the music ringing. It sounds an echo in my soul. How can I keep from singing? What though the tempest round me roars? I know the truth it liveth. What though the darkness round me close? Once in the night it giveth. No storm can shake my inmost calm, while to that rock I'm clinging. Since love prevails in heaven and earth, how can I keep from singing? When tyrants tremble as they hear the bells of freedom ringing, when friends rejoice both far and near, how can I keep from singing? To prison cell and dungeon vile, our thoughts to them are winging. When friends by shame are undefiled, how can I keep from singing?
Finally, some parting words from Rachel Barenblatt, the Velveteen Rabbi, for our seniors and, well, all of us too during these times. You'll need to travel light. Take what you can carry. A book, a poem, a battered tin cup, your child strapped to your chest, clutching your necklace in one hot, possessive fist. So the dough isn't ready. So your heart isn't ready. You haven't said goodbye to the places where you hid as a child, to the friends who aren't interested in the journey, to the graves you've tended. But if you wait until you feel fully ready, you may never take the leap at all. And infinity is calling you forth out of this birth canal and into the future's wide expanse. Learn to improvise flat cakes without yeast. Learn to read new alphabets. Wear God like a cloak and stride forth with confidence. You won't know where you're going, but you have the words of our sages, the songs of our mothers, the inspiration wrapped in your kneading bowl. Trust that what you carry will sustain you and take the first step out the door.
together in reciting the words for extinguishing our chalice, printed in your order of service. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. The service has ended, but our life of service continues. Let us say hello to one another in the chat, and then after about 5 minutes, we will go into breakout groups for actual real live verbal conversation.